Welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and this podcast, it exists for you. Whether you're a music lover, an educator, a choir member, each week we bring guests to the show to help explore what matters in music. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the show. Hello, and welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and this week we are continuing our teacher chronicles from the first days and weeks of school. We are doing a teacher spotlight with my friend, middle school teacher, Dr. Kristen Donaldson. In this episode, we go through everything from pre-planning to the first days to the first real rehearsals, voice testing, and paperwork, all the things. And then Dr. Donaldson shares her favorite team building activities and warm-ups and stretches. And we finish with lots of words of wisdom. Whether you're a first-year teacher, a 10th-year teacher, or about to retire, Dr. Donaldson has something to hopefully make you smile. Why are we doing these episodes? Because it's the beginning of the year and there's so much crazy going on that we can sometimes not have space in our brains to remember the amazing moments. So I want to chronicle and document the aha moments and the beauty of a fresh new start. So come February and March, when we're all flat out exhausted, we can listen back to these and remember the excitement. There's a really good story in the middle of this one where Dr. Donaldson shares something really special that happened in one of her classes. Anyway, I'm so glad that you are listening, and I'm really excited to bring these little teacher spotlight chronicle things to you. You know, these episodes are brought to you by our friends at Kinnison Choral Company and Kaleidoscope Adventures. If you're looking for a community, Kaleidoscope has that June festival in Myrtle Beach the first weekend in June with myself and Alex Gardner, where there'll be a festival choir, but also professional development. So come and bring your singers or come and bring yourself, and it will be a fantastic time had by all. You can check out more at the Kaleidoscope Adventure website. Go to emilybirch.org/sponsors. All right, enough announcements. It's all the paperwork and stuff at the beginning of the school year. Let's dive in and talk about the first days and weeks of choir with middle school teacher Dr. Kristen Donaldson. Today on the Music Ed Matters podcast, we are continuing our teacher spotlight, chronicling the first few days and weeks of school by talking to my friend and middle school teacher, Dr. Kristen Donaldson. Hello, Kristen.
Hey.
I'm so excited to finally sit down and talk to you. You look very beautiful. No one can see unless they're watching on YouTube. How many days have you been in school?
I've been in school for 10 days now.
Oh, so it's like another walk in the park. You're back in the routine.
Yes.
Oh, good. Are the kids back in the routine?
Not quite yet. They're getting there.
Okay. Close. Okay. We have to tell the listeners, who is Dr. Donaldson?
I am the director of choirs at Oconee County Middle School in Watkinsville, Georgia. And I also supervise as the state coordinator for the Georgia Music Educators 6th grade statewide chorus.
That's an awesome choir. I've always heard great things about that one. That's a fun one.
It is. We have around 500 singers every year that come out. So it's a great event.
Very, very cool. I think I did one of them virtually during the pandemic for Georgia, GMEA, like fifth grade or fifth grade, something. But there were so many little squares. Are you from Georgia? How did you get to Georgia?
No, actually, I grew up in Billings, Montana, way out west, Billings West High School.
How did you get from Montana to Georgia?
I went to the University of Kentucky. I actually went to Asbury University for my undergrad, and then University of Kentucky with Jeff Johnson for my master's. And then I had family that lived here in Georgia, so I moved down here, and then that's kind of how I got here. So, and did my doctorate at UGA, really close down the street. So I just love this area.
It is a fun area. You're not too far away from me, like 3.5 hours maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad. Totally different type of the country though, because we are so flat and you have some beautiful hills.
That's true. Yes.
Very true. How did you get into choir? Did you sing in choir in Montana?
I did. I was very involved in choir since I was a little kid. From church till I was as young as I can remember, until I've always loved singing. I did band and chorus in middle school. And then in high school, I was like, singing is that's my thing. That's my jam. So I transitioned from band and chorus and went straight into chorus, and then wanted to do music ed. So that brought me to where I am now.
Where were you when you got bit by the bug of, oh, I want to do this? Do you remember that moment?
I do. Actually, I was at this little church in East Texas with my grandmother and my family. And I had always thought, I was like, I think want to be an architect. And I just thought that would be fun to make houses. And then I was sitting there and we were singing and having a good time at church. And I remember thinking, I'm really not good at math and I'm really not good at drawing. So why do I want to be an architect? And I was like, well, what do I really love? What gives me joy? And why shouldn't I just do that as my profession? That, just kind of thinking about that. And then I just knew I loved to sing and I knew I loved working with people. And so that's when I went down the path of music ed.
Awesome. Okay. Did you teach throughout, like, where did you teach? Did you teach after Asbury or before UK or any of those things?
Yes, I did some tutoring in music theory and music sight singing actually as an undergrad at Asbury, and I really liked that. And then when I did my master's in choral conducting at University of Kentucky, I was able to be an assistant conductor for a couple of the choirs there. And then that led into me teaching at a private school for 9 years in Walton County, Georgia, called George Walton Academy. And I taught 5th through 12th grade choirs.
Whoa.
So that was quite a schedule because I had all of those grades to prepare repertoire for and concerts for. And then I just thought, I really, really want to focus on one age level. And middle school, yeah, they stole my heart. So that's where I am now.
I love it. So some people will just love middle school, some don't, but I do think it is fun to hear about the first days. So when did you go back for pre-planning?
We went back at the end of July.
And did you have all those what was the craziest meeting you had to go to?
Oh my goodness. The craziest meeting, I would say, so I'm the connections department chair. And so I love the first meeting with my department because we're all the quirky connections people. We all are teaching different subjects, but we all have this heart for the creative subjects and the fine arts and everything. So we have some characters in that group. So they love to crack jokes and make everything very lighthearted. And so we had a little bit of a crazy time. It was fun.
That's fun. One of my best friends is the art teacher where I used to teach. I was at a K-8 and I was the department chair there. And man, they gave me a run for their money. But it was so much fun. She's still the art teacher over at the school. And they went to a district-wide pep rally where the entire district, every single school in the district, was bused to the mega arena downtown and sat for a 3-hour, quote, pep rally.
No way.
That's insane. Like, take me out of my school on a bus to wait in a security line to get in an arena and then sit there for a pep rally. That sounds crazy to me. So many other things I'd rather do with my time, but yay for community.
Yes, right?
I think.
Absolutely.
The worst part was they came back from that and had their active shooter drills.
Oh.
I know. Talk about this awful day. Anyway, I'm glad you have a great team that you can surround yourself with.
I do. Yes, absolutely.
And then when everything starts, where do you get your choirs? Like, are they pre-signed up from the year before? Are you recruiting those first days? What does it look like in the first days for you?
Yeah, so we actually start, I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That's our school's ages. And so at the end of the 5th grade year, we start recruiting those kids into our programs for band and chorus. And our classes are the 2 classes they can actually choose. Everything else is a rotation that they're put into. So if they want to do band or chorus, they have to select it. So we really have to do some heavy recruiting in the spring, get our information out to the kids. We have a little video PowerPoint series about our programs. We actually go to the elementary schools and meet them. We bring our kids and have them do a little performance, and we get them pumped up about chorus and band. And then they virtually sign up. We do a Google form now. So that's nice.
Nice, advancing technology.
I know, right? I was like, oh, no more paper forms. So they sign up via Google form, and then we can see throughout the summer how many kids we have. And those are our babies, our little 6th grade babies for the coming year. And then we really try to retain those kids 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Our 8th grade program is a high school credit for those students.
Oh, wow.
So we really have to teach them basically 3 years of music and 2 years to get them to that high school level in 8th grade.
Wow. So I bet that's a recruitment factor, though. You also take your kids all over. You've performed on so many different stages. When do you take the whole 6th, 7th, 8th grade, or is it just 8th grade? Who do you travel with?
Now that I'm doing middle school, I just take 8th grade to, we've done various locations, Nashville, New York City, Disney World. When I did high school, we could take them to Europe. So I've done Eastern and Western Europe with my high schoolers. And then my 6th and 7th graders, I take them on kind of like a little trip to kind of prepare them for our bigger travel in 8th grade. And we go to the Fox Theater and see a musical.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay, so you have some really great recruitment tools. Not only do you have the power of choir, which is a recruitment tool in and of itself, you have the trips, you have that possibility of high school credit. What are some other reasons people join your choir?
Another reason that I hope that they love it, is that I try to create a very positive learning environment for those students. So that they know that that's a safe space for them and a place they can be creative, a place they can be excited about going to. As an example, my 6th graders today, one of them was telling me, she said they all started singing some Backstreet Boys. They were working on their breezing through theory drills, and they started singing Backstreet Boys. And first I thought, how do you all know Backstreet Boys? But I was very excited.
I would have been super excited and probably singing along. Which one? Do you know which song?
I Want It That Way. They were super excited doing their drills, singing it. And I was like, I just love your enthusiasm today. And they said, well, we love that we can sing in here. We're not allowed to sing in our other classes because it's disruptive. And I was like, I understand. But it's just they love being able to just be there and be expressive. A lot of their classmates also do chorus, so it's a place they can be with their friends too, which
so important.
Is important,
especially in middle school. Okay, so we know a little bit more about you, about your classroom style. Tell us some of the great stories that happen in the first days and weeks so far.
Oh yes. Well, the first. I feel like all pre-planning just ends up being meetings. Mm-hmm. So you don't really get a lot of stuff done in those days. So I try to either do some things over the summer or just on my own time so that when I'm in those pre-planning meetings, I'm making connections with my other teammates, trying to do some collaborative things with cross curricula with like English and math and science, just so that we can be like, hey, how can chorus be incorporated or music be incorporated into your programs? So I'm really trying to raise awareness about chorus and about how we can be valuable to those teachers. And so that's mostly where I spend my time in pre-planning. And then once the kids get there, it's just nonstop. Just go, go, go. You know?
Do you start with rehearsals right away then?
The first day, actually, we're required to go over the syllabus in every class. So I split the syllabus into chunks, and we play team building games in between each section, because I want the kids to start getting to know each other and themselves and trying to be more comfortable in the classroom and then they're not sitting there for an hour being bored because they don't want to hear me talk at.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite team building games? Give us a couple.
Oh, yeah. We have one where they stand in a circle, and I do this one so that I can get to know my 6th grade, their names, because I don't know any of their names. And so we'll do you have to do something you like to do that starts with the same letter as your first name. So my name's Dr. D and I like to dance. And so you have to do an action with it. So I'll do like my little
disco dance.
Staying alive disco dance. So my name's Dr. D and I like to dance. And then everyone else in the circle says it back. Your name's Dr. D and you like to dance. And then we go on to the next person and they say their name and what they like to do. And so then everyone's learning everyone's names. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, now we have to do everyone. I hope you were paying attention. And then we go around the circle, and it helps us to associate an action with their name, and it helps me remember their names.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good idea. And what do you do when the kid's like awkward and doesn't want to move?
So that's pretty tricky. I do let them brainstorm for a little while before we actually start the game, so they're not caught off guard and like it's frozen, not knowing what to do. So if they don't know what to do, they can kind of brainstorm with the person next to them, and then we play that way.
That's such good advice. I love it. Okay. Any other fun team building games you want to share before we move on from the team building day?
Oh, let's see. We do one that's with a ball. I have this big, bright, colorful ball, and you have to say someone's name when you pass the ball, and then they have to pass it to someone that hasn't received the ball yet.
Oh.
And so it goes all the way around. And then once it's gone to the end, they have to do it backwards. So
you have to remember.
You have to remember who passed it to you so you can pass it back. And they do actually a really good job with it. It just kind of helps them remember names and get to know everybody. And they can always say, what was your name again? Before they pass the ball over, so they can get to know that.
I love that you're putting the names in it. That's so important. Right before I met with you, I met with my student teachers, and I told them they had one massive assignment this week, and that's to learn every single student's name. That's just part of it. You have to.
Yes, you really do.
So you have name games. What are other ways that you learn people's names? How do you get it embedded in your brain?
About a week after school has started, like after about a week, I will put them in a seating chart by height and by voice part once I've done all the voice testing for every student. And then that helps me remember the few that I just haven't stuck yet for me. So that way I can refer to the chart whenever I'm calling on them to, give an answer to a question. I'll try to use that chart to get their name in my brain.
Awesome. Okay. So that's about a week in. When does voice testing happen? So if day one is the syllabus, team building, fun name game day, when are you doing voice testing, and what does that look like in your classroom?
Yeah, so we have our first week is just 3 days. So that's kind of what I'm calling the first week. So on Wednesday, we do the syllabus. On Thursday, we'll do a little more of the syllabus, some more team building games. Then we go over classroom expectations and make sure they understand how that works. Then we do some of the paperwork type things where I go through their forms that their parents need to sign, the payments for chorus and everything. And then we also build in some more team building into that as well. And then we'll pass out repertoire, get their binders in order, make sure they have their supplies. So all of that really does take quite a bit of time, those first 3 days of our time. And then I also go ahead and talk to them about our first fundraiser of the year. And we talk about the prizes they can get for raising amounts of money. We have a Chorus Booster Club that runs our program, basically. So we do all of that. And then on Monday of the next week, I start voice testing.
Okay. So pause before voice testing. What's your first fundraiser?
Oh, yeah. So we sell ads in our chorus programs for the full year. And so local businesses can sign up to be a sponsor for our series throughout the year. And a lot of the parents own businesses or know somebody that owns a business. So we actually raise about $5,000 with that first fundraiser every year.
Wow. And what do you have a booster? So does that pay for your music and for your travel? Is that the main impact of that?
So yes, we really only receive about $1,200 from the school district to run the course program. And so everything else I have to raise on my own through our Chorus Booster Club. So we really do some heavy fundraising to try to raise money for all of the music that we need, all of the costs associated with renting venues, lighting, sound, pretty much anything we do. We try to take down the costs for things like our chorus dresses and our t-shirts and our field trips. So we try to raise a significant amount every year.
I'm not going to forget to go back to voice testing, but you don't have a venue?
We have the Oconee Civic Center. We can use that for free.
Okay.
But we like to also do concerts on our own campus at Oconee Middle. And so I do have to hire out lighting and sound for that.
Wow. Okay. These are all great ideas. So fundraising, booster, cool. Now let's go back to voice testing. I know how I always did it, but I'm dying to hear how you do your voice testing. It's Monday, in walks choir, then what?
Yes. So in sixth grade, half of them sing soprano from August to December, and then the other half of the class does alto, and then we switch because I want them to have the experience with both. And I actually got that idea from Shalyn Scott, who was the chorus director before me. I was like, that is brilliant, because then they've had experience soprano and alto, and they're not scared of alto by the time they get to seventh grade. And if they have a voice change.
So better for your memory, because I switch them every song, and that I have to remember who sings what part. Disaster. That's so smart.
So yeah, it works really well. So we'll just do like some warm-ups, and then I have them start on a program called Breezing Through Theory, where they do their own drills. There's self-guided drills, and we start the sixth graders off with like treble clef and bass clef. Very easy. I have a big, huge chart on my wall that has lines and spaces up there too. So if they can't remember, they can look up there. So that's the work they're doing individually, while I'm pulling it one kid at a time into the practice room to do a voice test, seeing how high they can comfortably go and then how low they can comfortably go. And I feel like with the sixth graders, it's really more about how comfortably they can move up one way or the other, not what their actual voice range is, because they're so scared that first time. They get really scared, especially of the high notes.
Yeah, that happened last night in my rehearsal. I sang something that was so not high, and they're like, they gave me a look, and I asked one of my upper class, and I'm like, what's your problem? And she goes, I haven't sang all summer. I'm out of shape. Give me a second. Cracked me up. Okay, so when they're singing and you're hearing their range, like their comfortable range, are they on a neutral syllable? Are they singing a song? What's your go-to steps for that?
Yeah, so I just have them sing on a la, and we go up in half steps up the scale, and they are welcome to breathe whenever they want to. I let them pause whenever they need to, and I just kind of want to see how high they can comfortably go, and then how low they can comfortably go.
Sweet. And at the beginning, do you put the ones that are more comfortable high and soprano and then switch them in the second half?
I do.
Cool.
And so it's interesting, because that usually ends up being who my sopranos and altos are in seventh grade, is who starts that way in sixth grade. But it's really interesting to listen to them as the year goes on and hear, okay, actually, you know what? You're really comfortable singing harmonies and your middle range is really strong. I think I'm going to switch you over. So it really is helpful for me.
You really get to know their voices. Okay, so how many days does it take to test everybody?
It takes me 2 class periods.
Okay, so then you're tested. Everyone has their seat. How do they know where to sit?
So the next day is seating chart day, which my 7th and 8th graders always roll their eyes, because then they don't get to sit by their best friends and talk the whole time. They're like, oh, seating chart day. So I pull them out in the hall, one section at a time, tallest to shortest height. And I put them, tallest in the back, and then go from there, because I've found that obviously when you have the taller kids sitting in front of the shorter ones in class, they can't pay attention as well. They can't see as well. So it really does help to do height order for me in my classroom. So we'll get all the sopranos in height order, and then all my altos in height order. And if I have any baritones, then they get to sit in the middle. So
yes. Yeah, they get the spotlight seat. I've been doing a lot of different seating, like having them pair up by, like yesterday we did this speed dating activity, and I changed the music every like 20 or 30 seconds, and every time the song changes, find someone else, and they had to, brainstorm 2 things they wanted to tell them that they thought was really cool, and then 1 question, and then they had to continue conversation with each other until the music changed. Ooh. And then at the end, they paired up based on who they had the most in common with during that speed dating round. And then they share what they have in common. My favorite moment, there was this one, and introduce your next door neighbor. So this is my next door neighbor, so-and-so. We both like to read and write. Oh. It's just so sweet. And they're just nodding at each other like they found their people. And like everyone else was like, we have on purple shoes. Like we have our hair in ponytails. And we like to read and write. I love this. But I have them sit by different people so much in the beginning to get comfortable. But then I actually sit them by how they sound together. Because I sometimes have those voices that can only be next to those other voices. But
Yes.
I bet your room is set up differently. Do you have risers or something that makes it hard to see? Or is it flat? Or what's it like?
It's flat right now. We've got chairs spread out still, like kind of from COVID. So it's a flat room and then chairs. So
it's important so they see. So you have to do it height order so you can see.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so important. So these are key things to think about. So far we've covered your procedures in getting the first couple days off and all the details, all the paperwork, all the syllabus, getting to know the names, getting to know their voices, having seating chart day.
Yes.
So happy. Then it's time to sing. We're what, 6 days into school by this point?
About 6 days or so.
Okay. And how did that go the first time? Because that was just a couple days ago.
Yes. Yeah. It went really well. I usually try to give them about 2 songs at a time that they're like listening to, learning. And then of course we're doing warm-ups every day. We're adding some sight singing every day from the first day, just to like get them used to singing. So that first day that it's an actual, like feel like it's a real rehearsal, that first day, we do our warm-ups, we do our sight singing, we do our sectionals, rep, listening, analyzing. And then I break them up and they can work on drills while I pull for sectionals. And that day is the day that I just feel like we're rolling. You know, everybody's kind of gotten their jitters out and they got to talk to their friends and we have all the procedures learned. And that day they are so focused and they are just ready to go. And so that first day is always just, I love that first day of an actual real full rehearsal.
You put in the time to get there so you can enjoy it and not have, I feel like there's a trend here, Dr. Donaldson, in that you are always prepared so you can enjoy the moment. Like you come prepared to pre-planning so you don't have to sit there stressing about lesson planning. And you come prepared for your first days, get all the stuff out of the way. So then you enjoy that first rehearsal. That's a great life lesson of itself.
Yes. Yeah. I always want to feel prepared before really jumping in. That's probably my personality.
Okay. Tell us what your favorite warm-up or stretch or what's your favorite thing you're starting with right now?
Oh, I actually just kind of make up my own stretches where we move our bodies. And then we'll do back rub chain. And that always makes them so nervous the first time we do it. Oh, I can like actually touch someone now, especially post COVID. Right. Like, can I touch someone? Oh my gosh. So we do a back rub chain. And then, we'll switch to the other side. And then I love letting a student come up and lead. Stretches, movement. So it's really fun to see them create some little stretches or some dance moves that the class can go along to, which is really fun. So I really like doing a movement first, and then we do a rhythm exercise. So one of my favorite ones that takes a while to learn, the 6th graders don't start off with this, is where I'll clap a rhythm and then their 4 beats after me.
Yes.
Kind of creating a round. And it really makes them kind of focus and get really into it. So that's one of my favorite ones to do. But with my 6th graders, I just do like clap a rhythm. They clap it back. And then I'll let a peer come up and lead, just so that I want the peers up there leading from the very first day. So they're not scared to be in front of the class. I
love it. Okay. So move, focus. Do you have a favorite vocalese?
Oh, I really like, you can do this on solfege or you can do it with numbers depending on, or I do it with both because I want them to know both systems.
Yes.
But we'll do the 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. And then you can take out different numbers and they love that. And so they can also pick which number we take out sometimes. So they get excited about that. And we'll switch to solfege and do it with solfege. And then we do it once they've learned that, then we do it as a round and we add parts. And that's one of my favorite ones that we do.
Awesome. Okay. So I feel like I'm getting a feel about your classroom. What else do you want to remember when you think back to how the 2022 started? It sounds like it started really great. Are there any stories you're hiding from us that we should know?
Oh, that's a great question. One of my favorite favorite things that I heard this first week is it was a song I picked called "The Music Makers," and we're learning that. And when you've done sectionals with all day and you're kind of tired at the end of the day, my sixth graders always end the day with me, which I actually love because they have the most energy and they're just ready to go and they're just singing their hearts out. And one of the little girls, we were in the middle of the song and I said, "All right, page 5." And she went, "Yes." It was her favorite part of the song. And she said, "I love page 5." I love this. It's my favorite. She was so excited, to sing page 5.
Oh my gosh, that's what you need to remember. So come February, when it is not like that, you can be like, "But week 1, page 5. Yes."
Yes.
I love it. Okay, so we've chronicled this whole start of the school year mostly because my student teachers are asking all the time. My pre-service teachers are like, "What's it like?" And student teaching is such an artificial recreation of when you're actually responsible. So what are some tips that you would give someone in their first few years of teaching that they might want to think about before, during, or in the midst of the first few days and weeks of class?
Yes. I would say don't recreate the wheel. Get as many resources from as many people as you can. Get as many warm-ups from people as you can, from other teachers. Figure out what programs and systems other people like to use, and then figure out what works best for you. I think one thing that was the hardest for me as a new teacher, I was teaching in a private school, so I was the only music teacher, and I didn't have other teachers to really reach out to, and it was really tricky. And the only chorus teacher anyway. So I would say try to network with other teachers and find just pick the best practices that you can find and use those. I have a system for sight reading I really like, a system for music theory. I love finding tons of warm-ups in different places. And then rep ideas. I would say don't be afraid of themed concerts, but also don't try to do a theme for every concert either, because that limits you too. So those are kind of some things as a first year teacher that I wish that I had known a little bit more about.
I love that. These are great words. I will put that into a quote card so that my students can have it forever and ever. Now, what about those teachers that are coming back and they're like, "This is my 29th year. I don't need any advice. We're just getting through it." And they're probably listening to the Music Ed Matters podcast for a good smile and a laugh. And if that's you, I love you. You're amazing. What would you like to tell them, Dr. Donaldson?
I would like to tell them, take care of yourself and do something fun for yourself at the end of every day. Even if it's just something little to care for yourself, like painting your nails or going to get dinner somewhere fun that you love, or just doing the meditation for 5 minutes, or doing something for yourself that really brings you joy. And when you're feeling stressed out and tired from all of the rigors of the day that don't have to do with music, things like meetings that stress people out, having to cover for a teacher during your planning. Just make sure you take care of you. That's really important too.
These are great. These are so good. It makes me smile because in the student teaching meeting I had right before you, their eyeballs were just huge, like silver dollars. And we started the meeting with, "What are your goals for student teaching?" And then the cooperating teacher shared what they hope to impart during student teaching. And both student teaching candidates were like, "That it's so much more than teaching." And I'm like, "I've told you that 500 times, but now you've seen it. Yay. It is so much more than the teaching." But you've given us so many good ideas. Thank you for letting us just totally glimpse into your everyday of these first days and weeks.
Of course. This has been so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Well, before I let you go, there's always an opportunity at the end. One thing that really matters for all the listeners from this episode, what do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to know that no matter where they are in their teaching career, if they're a first year teacher, 10th year teacher, about to retire, what they are doing matters, and they are appreciated, and they are making a difference in the world. And thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to know you, and I'm so glad you're in the school, and we will have to catch up later. This was so much fun.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Okay, my favorite part, page 5. Yes. Cool is that? I want to remember that forever. I hope that you got some ideas. I hope that you just sat and are reflecting on how awesome your first days are, or will be, or have been. Because like Dr. Donaldson said, we matter. What we're doing matters. So, in case no one told you today, let me tell you again, you matter. We all know that music matters, especially those first few days and weeks. And I'll see you next time on the Music Ed Matters podcast.